is a man, one up, one down, want the polish kind of guy.
No. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of The Words of Crom. I'm Dan.
Phil?
I'm Nick.
And sadly today we don't have Stu, like the dish sometimes with dumplings with us. But he is with us in spirit.
Can I tell a cool, well, it's not a cool, it's a disgusting stew story that will probably put a lot of people off listening.
Oh, draw more listeners.
Oh, hopefully draw more listeners.
Nobody tell him this is on.
Probably won't, because I imagine Dan's probably going to balk at this story as well.
Okay.
The other day, right, I needed to use the toilet, and I was in there for an especially long time because it was quite a difficult process. It required, let's just say, a lot of toilet roll. And Stu basically took a. He didn't like that, but he made a thing. He was saying this to Nat, who is a mutual mate of ours, who came over the other night, and he was telling this to Nat and said how the two girls who lived in this flat prior to us, because we've just moved in, they left us 2 toilet rolls, and Stu moved in here about 3 weeks before I did, and those 2 toilet rolls lasted 3 weeks. Then he bought 2 more, and I moved in, and within a week, both of them had been used. And he was gobsmacked at this, and in the case of this one evening, I'd probably used about half a roll in one evening. I don't know what I was eating. And I'm going to have to find a text, but he was actually, yeah.
Was he livid?
He was, Do you
not know how much those toilet rolls cost?
No, it's, He texted me at work. Yeah, you need to police your wiping, son. You had an extra roll than me, and I lived there before you. 2 sheets folded equal 2 wipes.
Oh no.
So he is a man, one up, one down, want the polish kind of guy.
Oh no.
And he then texted me to say, you blocked the toilet. I was like, fair enough. Anyway, Nat was in agreement with me. It takes however much it takes.
Yeah, you get the job done.
You get the job done. If you drop a diamond, you don't necessarily need to use half a roll. Anyway, I come in the other day, in the morning, go to work, and I rouse him as he's asleep on the couch. He'd gone out the night before. So he's like a vampire with like the sunlight flashing across his face.
Natural light.
I go in the toilet, and he has had a dump and used literally 1 sheet of toilet roll.
Oh dear.
Can you think of anything more, as we'd say, Studeist, more tight, more cheap than that?
Stu's got very peculiar toilet habits.
Yes.
Which is a good thing why he's got the old ensuite upstairs, because you'll have been spared this, but do you remember, one of his things, do you remember him putting pictures on Facebook of the toilet, the cardboard tubes?
Yeah.
Stacked up on the system. I did that.
Yeah.
In an attempt to, because there was some on the system, there was some on the floor, there was a couple on the holdings, like, yeah, Stu, look, you probably want to move these now, it's becoming a fire hazard in the bathroom, so you probably want to sort them. But just everything. When we went to IKEA, he bought a bog brush, and I thought that's going to be the most underused item in this house. Because I think his toilet got cleaned once by me. Because there was the same shit stain on this toilet in his old flat for literally months.
See,
and I couldn't cope with it. It's one of those things where, I'll try and dose it with my stream of justice while I'm in there. But just nothing would shift it. So I had to spend 5 minutes scrubbing his toilet. Just before I moved in, it's like, thanks, I didn't have to do that now. That's the game you've played for the last 6 months.
See, I am surprised about Stu's toilet roll habits, because Stu is a man who I've known to go to the toilet at work, to go to the toilet in nightclubs, and that's
something you do with going to the toilet in a nightclub or a pub on a night out is something you do with only, so it has to be a real need. It has to be a need.
Utmost urgency to cop a duke in a nightclub.
It has to be a life or style situation, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, that toilet will be cleaned and spick and span before any girls enter this flat, because I've lived in many horrible places before, and I don't want to get it to the point where it's an actual chore to clean it. I'd rather just do a little bit every week.
I tried telling him that when I was at Atherton, it's like just little bits and bits. Like when I used to go around, like say after work, I'd take a pizza with me to stodge up a bit, because if I'm drinking until like 3 o'clock in the morning, I want a bit of substance, especially as the last meal I'll have eaten was just sandwiches at work. And I'd take leave the pizza box on the side, ready for him for throwaway with any other cardboard. 2 weeks later, it's still there. And like those cans he'll happily have them there for a while.
We still, because I've still got boxes.
No, it's still moving in.
We're still technically moving in, but there'll be. I won't say rules. So I'm not going to be a Nazi or anything like that. Although he'd probably like that.
I think the thing is though, because when it was on his,
I'm not going to tolerate mess. I've lived in a hole before.
When he was on his own, it was like, well, there's no one else who has to live.
Yeah, exactly.
So what does it matter? And now he's got a bit of company, and he can't be completely slobbish.
I don't think he will, to be honest.
No, that's what I'm saying. It probably won't be. It'll get a lot better.
But anyway, yeah. So Stu will be back another day. When we'll talk.
Stu's at work, and we'll not talk bad about him.
We won't tell any more nasty stories.
I will share a story that is not related to Stu at all, but it is on the subject of people who feel the need to go to the toilet in bars and clubs.
Does this involve me?
It does. It involves no one present at this thing.
Alright, because there is a story you could tell about me.
I've got one that involves Stu, but it was me as well. But this can come afterwards.
Sure. Okay, so for new listeners to the podcast, we are based in Bolton. Bolton has a bar called The Capital, which used to be a varsity. And several years ago, me and some friends were in varsity. This is a good few years ago now. Me and my friends were in varsity one night, and we all went to the toilet, as you sometimes inevitably do when you finish your drink and you're going on to the next place. And I'm washing my hands in the sink, and I see an item in the corner of my eye, and I know without looking at it properly what it is, but I don't want to look at it. I don't want to confirm it. Please tell me that's not real, what I've just seen in the corner of my eye. My friend Stuart, completely unrelated Stu, my friend Stuart comes along and starts washing his hands, and I say, Stuart, please tell me that's not what I think it is. He looks, and it's a shit in a glass, which someone... Now, I don't know what the process is. I don't know if you put the glass in the toilet and squat squat over it.
I'll pick it up.
Oh, I don't know if you just do it into your hand.
Do you know? Can I just aside, Dan? Squatting is actually more healthy for you. That's why people in China and sort of undeveloped. Not that China is undeveloped, because it's probably the most monolithic superpower in the world. In undeveloped countries where there are not fixed Armitage Shanks toilets, and it's just holes, people squat over them. It's far more healthy, far more natural. Just to let you know.
There you have it.
Yeah, anyway.
Toilet facts.
Yeah, toilet facts.
Anyway, so, so by this point, a crowd has gathered, people are taking photos, and we're thinking, well, that is disgusting, we need to tell the management. So we go downstairs, our friend Joe was assistant manager at the time, and, we said, Joe, go upstairs, get it sorted, someone has left a shit in a glass on the sinks. He goes upstairs to allegedly see to it, and returns with an empty glass. Which I can only hope was destroyed. I sincerely hope they didn't wash it and use it again, but they probably did. Anyway, we went back up to the toilets. We must have ended up getting another drink and staying in there. We went back up to the toilets, and this time it was just sat in a urinal.
That reminds me, when I was about 17, I used to work in a bar in my old hometown of Penrith, and the bar was called the General Wolf. And back then, you know, before the smoking ban, pubs were like one of the few things you could do in like a small town. So Saturday night, Friday night would be like huge business. Anyway, so it's like a Saturday night, and I'm 17, so I can't work on a bar, I can't pull any pints because it's illegal. So I'm just like generic
glass collector,
dog's body. And in a sense, it was an amazing job because I'd worked there for about 3 years. So this pub was like the hub of like, it was the kind of pub you go to before you go to the nightclub. So you'd see everyone, you'd know everyone, you'd get an image of everyone. You'd be at the centre of this whirlwind of activity, of social activity. And before Facebook and mobile phones, that was kind of important, you know. That was kind of something, and I didn't really appreciate it at the time. Anyway, me and my mate Dan Parks, so not this Dan here, my mate Dan Parks. We worked there, we're both the same age, and we had a manager called Beatty. And one night we go into.
Did you call him Master Beatty?
No, we just called him Beatty. He was a bit of a cock. He was a bit of a. He was 27 at the time, and he ran this very busy pub. And he's like, "Oh, I'll be retired by the time I'm 30." It's 12 years later, and he's still there. But, you know, he got bought out by a brewery, and who knows what happens. But you know, he's still very much a part of the Penrith social scene, which to him, is probably quite important. You know, and to be fair, apart from being cocky, he was quite funny, and as his story will prove, he's fair and he's true to his word. Anyway, some knobhead had basically somehow shat in a urinal. And this is why I don't use urinals anymore, because people do this. And, you know, you think, I want my penis as far away from that as I can get, you know. Anyway, he comes up to me and Dan and is like, right, one of you two's going to have to clean that up. And we look at each other like, no, we're not. It's like, yeah, you are. I said, no, we're not. We'll walk. You know, we're 17. We don't care. So we're getting paid £25 a week. We're not gonna clean shy out of a urinal. So it's all right. We're gonna draw straws. It's like, no, it's still not fair. So it's all right. We're gonna draw straws, and I'm gonna do it as well. So he breaks up like these just like lollipops, and I pick, and I get like a medium, because I'm picking first. I don't know how long or short it is, so I'm like, Dan picks, and it's shorter than me, and I'm like, yes, I'm safe. And then Beatty picks, he's the shortest straw, he's like, ah! So he has to do it, and he basically has to get a bucket and a mop. And he got on the toilet, basically there's a cubicle next to this urinal. So he's in the cubicle next to it, stood on the toilet with a fucking mop, just like probing it, like going, yeah, and trying to like get it onto the floor to like scoop up.
Oh man,
disgusting. And he's like there retching, and me and Dan are there just going, Beatty. Disgusting.
The only kind of odd stuff, it's not necessarily odd one, it's ingenuity at work. I was at the MEM, we're watching a gig, I think it might have been Slipknot, and
the Unholy Alliance tour?
Might have been, I can't remember. It was there, and Stu and I like a drink every so often. And
so understated.
And
every so often,
yeah, like a aperitif
in a beer every now and then.
Yeah, and a lot of this crowd also occasionally like a swift drink, and the queue to the blokes' toilets was immensely long, and you know the toilets at the MEN there's like 20 cubicles and about 50 urinals, and there was the queue outside, and stood there in this line, like queuing up, row of empty sinks, like.
Oh
no!
No one's using these sinks. Why not? It's basically a toilet. So I go and start having a piss in the sink. Stu follows suit. But to be fair, we gave it a flush because there were the taps where you hit the tap and it comes out and then it turns itself off. Everyone cottoned on, and it was like we doubled the amount of urinals, And this was halfway through the gig kind of thing, so I went away and then came back, and I can't remember if there was a bouncer there, or they'd said, yeah, no one can use the sinks now, because there was that amount of fluid going through it.
That's disgusting.
As long as it was just...
However, it was getting to be one of those emergency points, so it was like, there's this many people, I do want to continue drinking and see the band not queue up for the toilet for 15 minutes.
Well, I can tell you, I know for a fact, because Nick's told me this story before, and I was almost... in a thuggish way. I was almost disappointed with his actions.
I know what you're going to say.
I know that Nick has been at a gig in the past. I believe it was Metallica. Nick has been at a gig in the past where badly needed to pee in another gig. Simply peed into his glass.
Oh, right, yeah. I thought you were going to say... Thinking about it, I've got quite a few urinal stories. I didn't know what you were on. I was going, which one's he telling now? Metallica? No, it wasn't Metallica when I did that. But he's like, oh, yeah.
Peed into a glass or a bottle and then just very gentlemanly put it down by his feet. You know, whereas a more thuggish individual would have lobbed it into the crowd.
No. I remember...
That doesn't happen at gigs.
That never happens. It didn't happen to Axl Rose in 2007.
Oh, Daphne and Celeste.
Weirdly, I remember going to see... It was Download Festival, or one of the festivals, and it was just before Smashing Pumpkins were going on. It was the band before Smashing Pumpkins, and it was Nine Inch Nails, and the rest of the people were clearing off. They were shit, by the way. I've seen Nine Inch Nails twice. The first time was at the Manchester Apollo, and it was one of the most atmospheric, cool, interesting gigs I've ever been to. Didn't translate well to like a festival kind of stage. Anyway, I'm desperate for the toilet, and if you've ever been to the toilet in a festival, it's a horrible experience.
It is, very
especially if you're at the front of the stage and you've got to go and find another thing. Finding your mates, impossible. You know, it just ruins the night. So I had everyone stand in front of me in like a semicircle and just took a piss into a bottle. It's done. It's done. You know, I've still got other urinal stories to say.
We'll savour them
for another time, yeah.
Because yes, this particular word of Crom is not about urine. We are saving that one for a special in the future, but
Christmas urine special.
The yellow snow special.
But we are indeed here to talk about our favourite weapons from video games. Would you like to start us off, Phil?
Well, there's big weapons going back to stuff like Doom.
I mean, like the BFG.
The BFG.
The classic, yeah.
This gun will clear out an entire room. Fantastic. But there's also stuff like in Assassin's Creed, the little hidden blade. It's just done so cool and so well, makes you feel like a complete badass. But in recent times, and going back, it'll be from Dead Island. I mentioned this earlier. It's called the Ripper, I think, or something like that. And it was a download weapon. You get the blueprints, and you basically have to get a baseball bat, a battery, and 2 circular saws to make it. And when zombies run at you, you just swing it once, and like an arm will fly off or a head will fly off. But it's not just the sharpness; it's like the baseball bat element as well. Yeah, so it's one of the most fearsome weapons in the game.
I remember...
And it's just immensely useful and fun.
Obviously the precursor to sort of Dead Island would be like Left 4 Dead, which I still think is probably better than Dead Island. And obviously in Dead Island 2, one of the main sort of upgrades of it was melee weapons.
You mean Left 4 Dead 2?
Left 4 Dead 2, yeah, what am I about? Left 4 Dead 2, yeah. And the melee stuff in that, like having a samurai sword or a chainsaw, it just feels good. Just like mincing, like zombies. It feels how it almost would feel in reality. You think it would feel in reality. Is there anything else? Any other weapons that sort of stick out in your mind?
I'll think about it the more I talk about it. But there's stuff like... We've been playing the best game for weapons and variety.
No, Borderlands 2.
Borderlands 2. Just this amount of stuff in there, like when you first get a decent slag sniper rifle, and you can do insane amounts of damage with it.
See, there's some issues I've had with Borderlands 2, and that was first in like one of the first containers. I got a weapon I used for like 15 levels, so it made picking up everything else almost a chore. You know, so it's like, oh, just pick up more stuff that I'm never ever going to use. Never going to be as good. It's also a lot. Weapons can be statistically great and then be really poor in execution. Like, I don't like, for example, in Borderlands, a sniper rifle that isn't semi-automatic. Like, it's like one shot, really slow.
Bolt action
kind of shot. I don't like that. Others, I mean, recently I picked up my first, like, orange... It basically, because you don't play Borderlands, Dan. It's very much like you don't play Diablo, so it's impossible to describe that either.
The weapons are randomly generated, basically. Yeah. They've got, like, say a sniper rifle, you've got bolt action and semi-automatic, but then the semi-automatic nature can be... You pull your trigger once and it'll discharge all of its rounds in one go.
Or it can be like, bang... for one trigger press.
It's as fast as you pull the trigger, or it's burst, or this one, that's all there change. But then you've got stuff like elemental effects, so fire, corrosion, lightning, or slag, which is basically, it increases further damage.
How it works is, how Diablo worked was, you'd kill stuff and they'd drop randomly generated items, and they'd have quality levels, so you'd have grey, which is the poor quality. Then you'd have green, which is uncommon, which can be okay, but are generally not too good. You'd have blue, which is rare. Then you'd have purple, which in like World of Warcraft terms is epic. And then you'd have orange, which is legendary, like rare as the rarest can be. Usually, statistically, the best weapon at that level. I recently got my first orange handgun, and statistically, it's amazing. It does like... I'm only like level 23 or something like that. It does 2 times per hit, like 400 damage. So 800 damage per shot is immense. Immense, a lot of damage. Anyway, because of the way it fires and the way it plays, I don't like using it. Even though it's mega powerful, one of the main drawbacks is when you... certain guns, Dan, have all kinds of different properties. Like we found for doing like those like tournament that Ring of Death, the Arena Challenge gun. It was a rifle, but it fired shots like in an arc, like an artillery cannon. Totally useless. I'm sure someone out there would love that gun, and it'd be perfect for what they'd want.
But I think there was one. I don't know if it's manufacturer, but in Borderlands there was like an explosive round or this certain manufacturer. The bullets go, say, half the speed of a regular bullet, so you can see it.
Yeah.
So you have to shoot ahead of where your enemy will go. If you land the shot, it's immensely powerful. But the fact that you probably won't hit them. Sure. It's like, I've got this shit-hot weapon. Rarity's not really that useful in Borderlands.
No.
Because even on the loading screens it says, this, even a rare weapon doesn't mean it's good, it just means it's rare.
Yeah.
So it might only be this one pistol.
Monetarily, yeah.
This pistol, it's worth $3,500, but it's a pile of crap. It just happens that there might only be the statistical chance of this gun being generated is like 1 in 50 million or something stupid.
Yeah.
That's what makes it rare.
I think Borderlands 1 did it better, in that rarer weapons were generally much more powerful and better. They were just better. They weren't so randomly generated and just had buffed stats. The developers had thought about them and gone, this weapon
there was
some
hard-coded. There's hard-coded weapons into this game. Like, when you finish a mission, you'll get given a specific weapon, a themed weapon, which will probably be similar to whoever gets it in the game. But ones you'll just find randomly or pick up off enemies. Completely random.
Completely random. And there's millions and millions and millions of permutations and varieties.
I like that though, it keeps things interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, Dan, what would you say some of the favourite weapons of yours from computer games?
I can think of a few that expand the generations. One of the earliest weapons I remember enjoying would be from the first Siphon Filter game. If anyone plays
it the taser?
The taser, which in the early levels, especially because the early levels were easier going, the early levels especially, it was very satisfying being in like Washington City. Terrorists have taken over, they're on rooftops shooting at you, and you just fire this taser at them, and keep the trigger held down, and they just set on fire, and
you can tase them and just knock them out, or
tase them to death.
Now I don't know if it is possible to set someone on fire with a taser, but when you're like 10 years old playing that, it's
the best thing in the world.
It's quite fascinating, yes. Or also from that generation, Tomb Raider 2, discussed in the last podcast, one of my favourite game sequels ever. The grenade launcher in that, just because it was the most impractical, stupid, ridiculous weapon that never hit its target. But on the odd occasions that it did, and you would be badly hurt by the time it did make contact with the enemy, but on the odd occasion that it did, it was just very satisfying seeing that enemy turn into a bunch of little ovals flying across the screen.
That was a great game. In terms of like, obviously, there's going to be a lot of weapons which are very similar throughout the generations. I think Call of Duty is going to be like one of the major sort of games where you'd find a lot of weapons that have a lot of use. So, do either of you have any positive memories of like COD weaponry?
Certainly.
Is there specific guns that you will like love forever? And have there been any ones that you've used that have been replicated in further installments that have been poorer?
There are two guns that jump to mind from Call of Duty World at War, which is one of my favourite Call of Duties. I liked Call of Duty when it was set in the World War II era.
Yeah.
And I think World at War got a bad press because it had to follow the amazing first Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
And World at War is a great game, especially because that was the first game to have the zombies, which was a little game. You had literally the one small environment to work in, and, because by the time it returned in Black Ops, it was just too hard. And the zombies on that was excellent. And of course, you had the mystery box, and you paid X amount of money, and you got a random prize out of the mystery box. And there were these giant, huge machine guns, which I'm afraid I can't remember their name, but me and my friend Pete came to know them affectionately as Big Berthas. And you could easily hold down a room for a very long time with just a couple of Big Berthas. If you didn't have a Big Bertha, one of you could hopefully get a flamethrower. Awesome. It never ran out of ammo, but of course it did cloud your vision because the entire room would suddenly become full of smoke, and you can hear these things going, "Ah!" coming towards you. Not very pleasant. And of course, the ray gun. For anyone who ever got the ray gun, was amazing. One hit and it killed your enemy, or if you accidentally shot your partner, they died, or if you accidentally shot it too close to a wall, you died. It just perfectly deadly in every way, to the point where it was almost too dangerous to have. But again, so good at killing that it became a necessity, and that is the joy of any weapon in a game, I think, where it's dangerous to the point where it's going to do yourself damage.
Yeah, we've got to think about using it.
Yeah.
That there's definite good examples of that. I'm trying to think of some other weapons where, it's almost... I mean, in a game, it's quite hard to balance a point where a weapon is so usable, but it can either be rubbish to the point where it's unusable, or too good where there's no drawback. Like, I think the BFG 9000 was... It was almost...
It was too powerful, but the ammo was severely limited.
and it was slow. So you could fire it quickly, and it didn't do much damage. Or if you charged it up, you'd clear a room. So it had a nice balance, that... Rocket launchers, I think, are a classic example of incredible power, but if you cock up and you fire it too close to a wall or too close to an enemy, you get blasted,
Yeah.
That I think that's one of the classic first Doom... kind of like, we're going to give you an incredible toy here, but if you don't respect it... be careful. If you don't respect it, it's going to bite you in the ass.
The only thing you mentioned with Call of Duty is with frequency, to be fair, fuck weapons up.
They do change them a lot, yeah.
They change things a lot. They get stuff where there's absolutely no drawback to using it. Modern Warfare 2, the Type 1337 shotguns, absolutely no drawbacks to them. When you unlocked them, if you didn't spend the next few hours of your life trying to get dual wielding shotguns, you no good at the game because they were just so immensely powerful. It'd be like the other end of the room. You could use them as sniper rifles. It was basically one-shot kills with them. And you had 2 on the go. It just became an absolute nightmare. And then in Modern Warfare 3, it came back, but they nerfed it in its stats somehow. And you could only ever have the one of them. Still powerful, but it's not a game breaker.
There was game-breaking weapons in Modern Warfare 3. I'm trying because it's been a while since I've played it.
The MP7 was...
MP7, yeah. Everyone used that. It was like the little Uzi single-hand one, you know, very quick, very accurate, very little recoil. I think that was the main deal with it. There was so little recoil that you could fire it, you know, extend it. You could fire like a full clip out and you could be very accurate with it. Some of the shotguns were ridiculous in Modern Warfare 3.
They were. The thing that bothered me the most were the akimbo little machine pistols. You know,
but they've been in them in every. I remember in COD Modern Warfare 2, the G18s, which you have in Modern Warfare 3 that no one uses, and they were just 2 extended clip machine pistols that if you just pulled both triggers as you walk around the corner, you'd kill anyone. And I remember, because I used to play it on the PC, and obviously you don't have this element on the console as you do on the PC. You just have loads of people going, lol, G18 noob, you know, rapid fire noob, and you think, they're doing it, you know. But I remember going, G18 noob, and then you quit your build with G18s next round. Because you're like, I want to do
Noob tuber.
Oh,
yeah. Fuck it.
I'll do that.
That's exactly my problem, okay? But first of all, the akimbo weapons require no skill. It is, like you said, you
spray and pray.
You just
spray and pray, yeah.
And, noob tubers especially, there's absolutely zero skill to it. Now, I understand if maybe you're trying
to... They ruin hardcore mode, noob tubers.
Certainly, yeah. Hardcore... If you're not having a good session...
Though. When you finally get some, like...
You get like 3 people in one shot.
There's possibly someone in that window over there. Dum. Yeah. Triple kill, nice one.
Yeah.
If you're not having a good session, though, on hardcore, you know, you're not in the mood to be noob-tubed. You know, hardcore does take some skill, and to be killed by a fluke noob-tube is most unsatisfying.
Most unsatisfying, yeah. Especially when you see someone, like, running, like at the start of a map, and then you fire off randomly, and it hits you.
That's
like, for God's sake.
This is why I love playing Call of Duty games the first month or 2, because everybody's on a level playing ground. I'm relatively competent at playing Call of Duty. That goes from game to game, but I don't spend an inordinate amount of time looking for a specific part of a cloud to aim my noob tube at, so I'm guaranteed a kill at the start of a round.
Yeah, or watching endless YouTube videos to find that.
And that's why I love the first few months, because nobody knows this. And then at the end of the lifespan, which now is a year, they can be relatively unplayable. The older games especially, the first Modern Warfare 2 was notorious for it. Getting out of maps as well. I remember on the first one, it was like, I can't remember the name of it, but it was in like
I remember it was
a Middle Eastern town.
Yep.
One long road, little type of base up here, little one here, but which dogleg round. And there was this blown up building, and you could jump on specific bits and then get on the roofs of these buildings, but you're technically outside the map.
Yeah, because you'd be right on the top of this high building.
And no one would think to look there. Even if they watched the kill cam, it'd just be a scope. So you think, they're roughly around there. And then you'd never be able to see them, because you're never going to think they're right on top of these stupidly tall buildings out of the way. But they've addressed that in Modern Warfare. There were no real out-of-map experiences on it, which is good.
There's I remember in Modern Warfare 3, I'd bought for the first time most of the DLC, and I found that I had a better playing experience when I played with that off as opposed to on. Because if you think about it, only either the spoilt kids or the super obsessive people, not necessarily. I mean, a lot of people are going to buy it only the people who are really invested in it are going to pay the extra money to buy that, as opposed to people who aren't asked, who are just going to play the normal game. So I found I'd do much better and enjoy it much more if I just played the normal game without the DLC. I was like, this is miles more enjoyable.
I do tend to buy the first set of maps. I did on Modern Warfare 3. I bought the first and the second. Didn't bother with the third because they always release it too close to when the new one's inevitably going to come out.
Yeah, and it's worth.
So if it's in the first 3 or 4 months that they release some maps, I might buy them. But I'll not go out of my way to.
Yeah. In terms of kill streaks, I know we all like. I know you like dogs, which is a classic. You don't like dogs, Phil?
I don't like dogs.
See, I think
it's too cheap. It takes a bit to get there, but especially on World at War, where the maps were a little bit busier and slightly more detailed and generally darker than Modern Warfare 3 was. You couldn't see them until they were right on you. And kill streaks can just ruin your day anyway. But there was no perk to counteract dogs.
No, but what I found balanced dogs, as opposed to in Modern Warfare 2, the nuke, where there was nothing you could do.
I said if
you could shoot the dogs.
Warfare
if you were good, you could never ever get killed by dogs, which I think is a perfectly good kill streak.
Rule number 1: back yourself into a corner.
Yeah.
No, the nuke was ridiculous. I had a couple of games in Modern Warfare 2 that ended by nuke. We had a couple of games in a row that ended by nuke by the same loser player who must have got, I believe, did you have to get 25 kills to get a nuke?
Yeah, without ever dying. Yeah.
So this guy got 25
and you also had to
kills.
have it as your kill streak, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, and in Modern Warfare 3, it was unlisted as a kill streak, the MOAB.
But at least the MOA...
Same deal.
At least
it would not end the game.
It wouldn't end the game.
Yeah, at least the MOAB continued the game. But yes, the nuclear bomb, exactly. Okay, it ended the game. Okay, you could be on the winning team, but if someone on the other team releases a nuclear bomb, that's it, your team loses. And that's unfair because you were the team that was definitely winning. It's unfair that some loser... I mean, that is bad. 2 games in a row where the same loser has got 2 nuclear bombs. That is someone who's played that game far too much.
Or the cheating, which is...
more likely.
Sad. Just mega sad. I'm trying to think... See, my first experience of Call of Duty was... I always played it miles after you guys did, Dan. I remember you guys telling me about it and I was like, not arsed. And then you do play it and it is coming from like an FPS background of like Doom and Unreal and Quake. It is a major step and it does feel very cool, and certain ones have certain cool balances like Predator Missile. Very powerful, you can get a good amount of kills with it, or 1 kill, but if everyone's inside, you shit out of luck. He's still there, prone on the ground, use a computer. Stuff like that's cool, you know. I think in Modern Warfare 3, like, the helicopters died way too easily, so no one had really used them. Some of them, like the big fleet of helicopters going across the map, useless. Pretty useless, you know.
They were okay providing none of your enemy team had blind eye on, but again, too easily defeatable. You shoot down the middle helicopter, it takes down all the rest. Yeah.
And again, in Black Ops, the chopper that you could command, it was just a bit stupid. It was just a bit, you know.
I like the chopper gunner one.
What, where you're the big machine gunner,
yeah.
like in Vietnam. Yeah, that was cool, you know. It was.
In the rare occasion I did get the helicopter you could control, that was easily shot down. And if everyone was inside, you would, again, shut out of luck.
Yeah.
But it was at least a bit different, which I enjoyed.
Yeah. Going back to, like, favourite weapons. It's a weird... This is like a weird story, and that is one of the best games I've ever played. Is called Gemstone 4. I don't know if I've spoke to any of you about it before. And it's like a precursor to MMOs, so like WoW, Age of Conan, Star Wars Online. This was like at school or you know, back in the day. Did you ever play like text-based adventure games?
Yeah, a few.
So like Zork, stuff like that, you know, where go west, pick up sword, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Go left. I do not understand your command.
Yes.
Cannot go left. Go forward. Cannot go forward.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed Zork. The moment I would get bored in Zork, kill self. How would you like to kill yourself? With a knife. You stab yourself with a knife. You are dead. Yes.
Take that, me.
Well, Gemstone 4, or at the time Gemstone 3 when I started playing it, was a text-based game online with, at the time, thousands of other people. So I started playing it in 98. It had been around since, I think, 93. So I was doing about 16 at the time. So, like, being 16 and sort of like this stupid kind of youth, you know, you just want to, you know, be absorbed. And, you know, you basically want to be someone else. And that's why I fell in love with roleplay games at the time. Initially, I'd been on, like a freeform chat room where you could... It was basically like... meant to be like an inn, and you could go in as any character you want, and you could roleplay it however you wanted. And I remember talking to a few people via this, and one of them mentioned Gemstone 3. I was like, let's go and see this. Went to this part, went to the website, which took ages to load because it was 98, and you know you had the awful 56k modem sound. Like you'd, you know, every 2 hours my internet connection would die, and I'd have to reconnect.
There's a group of people who'll never know.
Yeah, the kids will never know that sound. Do you remember that sound?
Yeah.
Barely.
I do remember it because I remember we got a modem many years ago when a lot of people we knew didn't have the internet at all. And my early memories of the internet were literally, it was just chat rooms and adverts. That's literally all I remember the internet being at the time. So yes, I do remember the
I was going to say this. There'll be a group of people who'll never know. Where is it? It's actually on the iPhone.
Yeah, there'll be memes for it. I'm sure I've seen memes for it already. But at this time, you know, me and my mate would only use the internet late at night. We'd creep into my dad's office, and we'd look at we'd try and download a picture of Gillian Anderson from a FHM set, and it'd take 20 minutes to download one image, and it'd be in grayscale, really poorly pixelated, and you think, God's sake, what is the point of this? Anyway.
Oh, look at those square nipples.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was Gillian Anderson, you saw nothing, sadly, even though, you know, she was semi-naked and it was good.
Remember when Stu used to... Stu was an early adopter of stealing music, and he was on the original Napster. And obviously on the 56k modem, it took around about an hour to download a 3-minute song. And there were cunts out there. There's no other word for them.
I know what you're going to say.
Where you'll start to download this song, and the first 30 seconds, minute, will be the song. And then after that, and you think, this is right, I'll keep downloading this. And then that stopped, and it'd be some random thing that they've put after it.
Excellent.
So you'd spend an hour downloading it. Listen to my song, mate. You could only download...
Same with a video, and it'd be porn. You'd be for God's sake.
You could only feasibly download roughly 8 songs a day.
God, that's mental.
Well, I'll admit I did used to download songs from LimeWire.
I remember LimeWire and Napster.
And if I remember correctly,
Morpheus.
LimeWire doesn't exist anymore because obviously it's not.
I think some people use it.
I'm pretty sure I heard something in the news not so long about it shutting down. Now, whether it is back up and running, I don't know. But if it was shut down, I understand it's naughty, it's illegal, blah blah. But I downloaded it for a time up until the point where it just stopped working. If it hadn't stopped working, I'd have still been using it. But I downloaded it for a time, and there was this one time where every song I downloaded came with a random free porn video, and you know,
you were in bliss.
Yeah, but I wasn't going to turn my nose up at that exactly. Yeah.
So Gemstone 3 was basically a chat room, but like Zork, you'd be in your own world, and you'd create a character. And my first character was, you'd get race options, age options, class options, and then you'd have skills to choose from. So my first character, I remember vividly, was called Malice, and he was a dark elf rogue, and basically you're thrust into this world, where there's thousands of other people. So you start off in this town, and it was called, I think it was either Ice Mule Trace, I think it was called, and it's like very much similar to Winterfell in Game of Thrones. It's like based in the north of on this continent, so it's all cold and stuff. And you'd have a town, so you could be in the town square, and you'd have like a description, and under that you also see here like random items. Also here are character names, so there could be also here Lord Daniel, Phil the Destroyer here, stuff like that.
I prefer the title of Destroyer than Lord.
Well, Destroyer was not a title.
Sure.
If you reach level 20 in this game, which is a serious time commitment, you'd either be Lord or Lady. If you reach 50, you would be Great, and then if you reached, at the time, 100, you'd be High Lord. And then this has gone into mental detail, but if you got over a certain level, I think it was 160 at the time, and this is thousands of hours, you would be called the Renowned. So there's a few renowned characters. There's the renowned Angel Lissa, there's the renowned Malak, there's the renowned Drizzt, and a few other characters. Anyway, so this was before like World of Warcraft, and role-playing was heavily enforced, so you were actively encouraged to create a background for your character. There's all kinds of verbs, so if you typed like smile, your character in the game, you'd say, if you were playing it down somewhere else, you'd say Malus smiles.
Okay.
If you could whisper to other characters, so you could go whisper, Dan, hey there, and you would get on your screen, Malus whispers to you, hey there.
Okay, that's
very, very cool, very, very basic for what it was now, but at the time it was awesome. So you could create your own characters, there was quests, you could go on, and the creators of this world, the GMs, the classic Dungeons and Dragons GMs, they would have like invasions, so they'd have loads of monsters that would spawn at random and try and invade towns. They'd have storylines, very similar to like Game of Thrones, where certain things would be going on, and they'd get people involved. But ultimately, it was just a persistent world, similar to World of Warcraft or a game like that, where in certain locations you'd find monsters. And so different monsters would have different levels and different abilities, and determined your ability and your skills, you'd be able to kill them. Now, at level 1, the only thing you could really kill were rats. So in Ice Mule Trace, you'd go up the well, you'd go climb well, and you'd climb up the well. And then you go down and it'd all be described in detail. By the time you get used to it, you wouldn't even read it anymore. You just look at the first room description and the directions, so it could be north, south, up, down, west, northwest. So using like your little number key, you just go like that, and you could move all across the world very super quickly, and you'd learn it. I reckon if I played it now, I've not played it for a long time.
You'd know where to go.
I'd know where to go. I'd know where to go and know where things are. You go down into the caves under the well, and like a giant rat enters, and a giant rat swipes at you, and it's dependent on certain criteria, like if you had a shield, if you had any defensive spells, if you had armour. You had like 5 set stances, so if you're a defensive stance, you were very defensive, but you'd never really attack. You wouldn't have a high attack. And you could have a defensive stance where you forsake all your defense for offense, and then one's in between, and then you could like sort of stance around monsters. So you'd wait for them to attack. You'd go a stance offensive, and then you'd hit it. And then if you missed it, if you didn't, basically you'd have like a D100 roll. If you didn't get over a certain amount, you'd miss, and then you'd be there going stance defensive, trying to like get into the stance defensive before its turn came around, because it's all time based. So if you swung like a big battle axe, it'd take 8 seconds per attack. If you had a dagger, it'd be 5 or something like that. They eventually changed it to make it like 3 seconds for the faster weapons. But at the time, the fastest you could do anything was 5 seconds. If you cast a spell, it was 3 seconds. Which is the advantage of a spellcaster. Whereas certain monsters would attack you at different speeds. And eventually you'd kill it, you could skin it if you had the skill, and it'd drop loot and stuff. And very similar to World of Warcraft, but it was much more solo orientated. You could get from the beginning of the game to the end of the game and get the best shit.
Without ever interacting?
Well, you had to interact with some people, because they were just there. And it wasn't necessarily interaction of like, hey there, how's it going? It was like, you get injured, and if you weren't a certain class, if you weren't an empath, or you didn't know how to grow herbs or find herbs like a ranger did, you'd have to go and find someone to heal you, and there'd be some interaction. If you found like a lockbox, if you weren't a rogue, or you didn't have any lockpicking skills, you'd have to go and find a rogue, and you give the box to him, and he'd unlock it. Cool stuff, and then there'd be like an interaction with them. You could tip them. If you didn't tip them, they could rob you. If they could pickpocket you if they had the skills. They could pickpocket you if you didn't rob. You might catch them. That might begin something. There's certain characters out there who are notorious thieves. Notorious thieves. There's characters who were legends within this little world. Anyway, to sort of bring it back to weapons.
Yes.
The coolest part of this game, and it's what no other game I've ever played can ever sort of match, is that because it's text-based, it's all in your imagination. Now, you could start off with like, a broadsword, a steel broadsword, an iron broadsword, a flint spear. The GMs had powers where they could alter the description of any item. Eventually it could alter anything, so it could alter your description. So instead of just saying, you see Lord Dan, he appears to be in his mid-20s, he is average height, he's an average height human with brown hair. The GMs could alter that. They could say he is an average height for a human with greying brown hair that is tousled. He has deep-set blue eyes.
So you could ask for a description of your choosing.
Choosing. Now, you could do this for weapons. You could do this for any items, and weapons was one of the cool things. And so some people had no writing skills. Some people were ridiculous. So I remember one guy who had like this really gaudy sort of broadsword, and if you examined this broadsword, it had engraved on the blade Optimus. Awful shit. And apart from altering and doing this for items, they create their own items. Now, unlike World of Warcraft or Borderlands or most games like Dead Rising, this was a persistent world, and there's certain items that were genuinely unique. There'd be one item, and there's one sword, and I think its description was a massive voltite. No, it wasn't voltite. Because it has its own, like Lord of the Rings, it has its own materials and stuff. It's a massive Valorn sword. That was the description. Because of its properties, players nicknamed it Sorrow, and it was known forever as Sorrow. And there's only one of this in the game. Now, when I was very lucky enough to buy it, and this was after years and years of seeking it and trying to buy it off people and raising the money. When I bought it, it cost 120 million silvers, which is approximately about $1,000. That's a lot of fucking money in reality. What? I sold it for $1,000, ultimately. What? In real life money. In actual money.
You did?
I did.
You made £1,000 of this?
Yeah.
Wow.
But that was because I had no money, and I was like, I need to pay the rent.
That is incredible.
And I was gutted.
That is incredibly sad that someone paid $1,000 for that.
No, see, again, people say this, Dan, people jump to this conclusion. And I really dislike it. What someone wants to spend the money on, if it's a hobby, some people spend thousands of pounds on stamps. What's wrong with that? I spend nearly £100 a month going to the gym.
Yes, but again, this was a text-based game, right? So the thing, someone can spend £1,000 on stamps. Okay, at least they can invite their friends over and go, "This is a stamp I got from Lebanon." I don't see how people can invite their friends over and go, "You can't see it, but I have this sword."
I think that's the stigma for that, and same with people selling World of Warcraft characters.
Or gold, yeah.
Or gold in any digital thing. It's getting less and less now that the mainstream's picking up on iTunes. I'll buy a song or an album on iTunes or a film. But it's the whole... I don't like spending a lot of money on stuff that isn't physical.
Well, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
I'll occasionally buy songs on iTunes. I might buy an album on iTunes. But if it's from, like, say, Monomath, one of my favourite bands, I'll only buy their albums on CD.
See, I think that's why CDs and DVDs will always be around in a physical sense. Because of people like that. Because most people are like that. If it's a favourite band or a DVD that I really like, they will want the physical copy.
Yeah, because you get... Well, that's a different argument. You get everything in it, really. It's a physical thing. It's like, I spent £10 and I've actually got this thing, I can hold it, feel it, do this, that and the other. Whereas with digital things, especially, that would be what you described as the ultimate niche digital sale.
Yeah.
Because you sold what was basically a text file
to
somebody.
There's also the other side of it. Right, Dan?
Hello.
If you... Imagine you're playing this game and it requires... I play that game a lot. Lots and lots and lots. Imagine if it says, right, you can work for an hour and you get paid 20 quid an hour if you're in a good job. Or you could spend 3 hours in the game to get the equivalent amount of money your real life cash could buy in that money. So you could say, right, I can either spend 3 times as much time in the game, or I can use what I've earned in reality to save me that time. If you see what I mean. Right. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Some people definitely view it like that. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because I sold it for that amount of money. I totally didn't judge who bought it. If people want to buy stuff digitally...
If someone wants to give you a grand.
No. If a person wants to spend that much amount of money on anything, if it doesn't hurt anyone else, good for them. Good for them. Stu's got all them UFC DVDs there. Like, that's not everyone's cup of tea.
No, that's an investment.
And that's an investment, you know. But could he resell them for what he's bought them for? No, he couldn't.
That's where I've got a... Not a hardened mentality, though I do tend to keep stuff a lot more over certain things, rather. But certainly comic books, Stuart cannot see, and Carl is... Carl will take the piss out of me buying comics just for the sake of it, but he'll also give them a quick read. Not his cup of tea, but then Stuart doesn't like them. But I'll happily spend this weekend, I spent 50 quid just on some comics. I know that I'll never be able to resell them, but I don't want to. I want to keep them.
Yeah, it's your money. It's your money, you can do whatever you like. Anyway, buy this sword. And to me, this is the ultimate weapon, because it's something I'd strove for in this game for about 3 years. Just finding this one instance of a weapon. You know, it's not like the Ripper, where you could pay 800 Microsoft points and get it. Which you could say, you spend money, real life money, for something in a game that is never going to be physical, that you might stop playing. Oh, that's a bit crazy. You can't ever get your money back for that. That's a bit shit. Buying maps, Dan. Buying DLC.
To be fair, I just bought the hardened edition of Modern Warfare.
Exactly.
So the maps are free anyway.
But you're still paying the money for it, though. It's not free, you're paying extra money.
You pay the money up front for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I knew that inevitably people would go, oh, you know what, better buy the maps. I'm like, well, sure, at least I'll have the satisfaction of feeling I read them for free.
But you're still paying.
I'll trick myself into thinking I've not actually paid for them.
Yes.
Anyway, what was this game called that you've been going on about?
Gemstone.
Anyway, if the listeners are still listening after
just because it doesn't interest you, Dan, doesn't mean it won't interest other people. Some people, if it doesn't interest them, will still try and at least engage the people who are talking to them. Unlike yourself, who just
if not, there's a fast forward button.
I wasn't drifting off. Nick mentioned Stu's collection of UFCs, and I found myself counting every single one, and that is a commitment.
He stopped buying them now, though.
Yeah, I think he got up to like 100, which is mental. But like I say, that sword meant something to me, because it had that sword had only been owned by a finite amount of people. My character, my ownership of that is part of that sword's heritage now, that item's heritage. And in this day of like consumerism, especially in games where everyone has access to practically everything,
well,
that's saying something to me.
Yeah, that's a unique perspective, because I buy Black Ops 2, you'll get it, and everyone will have the same thing, and they'll be expected to have the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone
touches on, I'll have a weapon that you might never have. That I've got, it's pure chance. But if there's a gun that's hard-coded into the game, and you have one finite chance to get it, and there'll only be that one, it does change it slightly.
There's also, like...
It's something you don't see, because everybody wants everything all the time.
Yeah. It's weird, because, like, if your character... Like, I retired my character, and I had unique items on there that people will never, ever be able to use, because I've retired them. People do that all the time on that game. And it makes certain items rarer, it makes certain things much more special. And I think that's what a lot of games today has sort of lacked. And I totally agree, Dan, it's massively nerdy and it's massively geeky. But you'd have to be a certain kind of person to even play that game in the first place, you know. And maybe it's not like... I mean, like we were saying earlier before we started recording, the ray gun in Fallout 3 is wicked because it just feels crazy. It feels like it makes a wicked, nice sound. It's bright and sparkly. It's very 50s. How long have we been recording for anyway?
An hour.
We'll wrap it up in a minute then. Unless you've got something to say.
I've got something to say. Yes, for all the people who've...
You say something, Dan, so I can ignore it.
Tell us a story, Dan.
Tell us a story, Dan. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I think my favourite weapon of all time from any video game will be the pies from Dead Rising. Because there was nothing more satisfying. The good thing about Dead Rising was, which again I stated in the last podcast, is one of my favourite games of all time. The first one especially. Now in the second one you can make your own weapons. You know, you can combine a baseball bat with some nails. You know, you can get a paddle from a paddle boat and attach some chainsaws to it. You know, but the first Dead Rising, there was nothing more magical than grabbing a pie and throwing it at a zombie's face, okay? Because sometimes the pie would stick to the zombie's face, and they would still come at you, but this time with a hilarious pie stuck to their face.
It's like the cones as well.
The cones
Did you ever play Dead Rising with the cones? You could get traffic cones.
Traffic cones, horses, masks.
Massive amounts of zombies, or Lego heads. And put them on the zombies, and then they won't be able to see it, but they'd all be bumping around into each other. So the sight of 50 zombies with Lego heads all stumbling around was like, this isn't so bad after all.
One thing I did like...
biting my leg.
One thing I did like about Dead Rising 2, though, and I stated again in the last one, Dead Rising 2 is not as good as the first one. But in Dead Rising 2, you play a character called Chuck Green. And
X-Men power on display there.
There you go. And he takes way too much inspiration from Horatio from CSI Miami, okay? Because Frank West in the first game, you know, he kills... You know, there are human psychopaths to kill as the game goes on. It can't all just be zombies. And Frank West never did it with a sense of, you know, of victory. You know, it was, you know,
necessity. It was like necessity.
Yeah, exactly. It was them or him. You know, it was a battle for survival. Now Chuck Green was a bit too Horatio from CSI Miami. There's too many psychopaths he went up against that ended with a Horatio style quip. You know, you go up against this one guy who, when you defeat him, accidentally sets himself on fire, and whilst he's on fire, he's busy shouting, "I'm the greatest!" And Chuck Green just goes, "Yeah, you're on fire," you know, which, you know, is just asking for the Who to go, "Yeah!" There's another one where you're fighting the sheriff type character who falls on like a big circular table saw, you know, and he accidentally turns it on, and, you know, it makes a bloody mess of him, and again at the end he goes, "I saw what you did there." Yeah!
One of the, like, an old game I used to play, and this is technically not a weapon, but you could use it as a weapon, was Transport Tycoon. Again, massively nerdy game here. Do you know what Transport Tycoon is, Dan?
I've played Railroad Tycoon.
Yes, it's like that. So it's like SimCity, but we only use the transport, so you could build roads, railways, stuff like that. Now, if you're playing it multiplayer, and this is what I love to do when you're playing it multiplayer, even against a computer, if they're creating like a road network, and you wanted to mess with them, you could create like a rail network that, just say they've got a straight road, you could create a rail network that bisected that road at every single point. So you could just go over the road as much as it could and just get a train. And so when they'd be driving along it, you just have your train come along. Don't put any signals in it, just take out the fucking... just take out whatever trucks or bus full of kids.
The best weapon in the game is a train.
Yeah. So that was always... I never owned it, but I did have a demo of it. I thoroughly enjoyed the demo. But I had Jurassic Park... Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, where you made your own Jurassic Park. And there was nothing more satisfying than getting a park full of visitors and then conveniently breaking the T-Rex's gates so that it would go on the rampage.
We've totally forgotten to mention, like, probably some of the best... Actually, I don't think you've played them, Dan, because you're a total loser.
Go ahead.
The two guns from one of the best games ever made, and that is the gravity gun from Half-Life 2, which is incredible.
I'm aware of the gravity gun.
Incredibly cool. And, of course, the portal gun.
The portal gun
has to be mentioned, because that is just something that is not necessarily a weapon, but can certainly be used as a weapon.
Certainly, for getting rid of those pesky droids.
Yeah, it's very clever, very, very kind of... It's simple to use once you've used it a few times, and it's so versatile. It's not like a gun where you can shoot it. And
such a simple idea that's incredibly complex.
Yeah, there's so many layers and levels to it that you can theoretically do almost anything with it, and it can be as deadly. Like, I don't really want to spoil the end of Half-Life 2, because have you played Half-Life 2?
Yeah.
The end of it where you put the portal on the thing.
Nice and vague.
Can't quite remember the ending, to be honest.
Yeah. You're about to be destroyed by something, and to escape, you put a portal somewhere, and it creates an effect that... This is totally not... this is not even worth trying to describe without spoiling it.
Just spoil it. You're not going to play Half-Life 2 to conclusion, are you?
In time, perhaps?
I reckon you'll have forgotten it by then.
Go for it, then.
And, yeah, we've spoiled it. Anyway, yeah, so you're about to be destroyed, and this entire location where you're at is crumbling, and you're about to be killed, and you're looking up, and you sort of see the roof give in, and you can see the moon.
Wait, hang about.
I'm not Half-Life, this is Portal, yeah, sorry, what am I on about? Portal, yeah.
Right.
What am I on about? Yeah, it's Portal. Portal 2, yeah.
Right, then let's rewind, shall we? Yes, I know the end.
Then you know the end, yeah, and you see the moon, and you put the portal on the moon, and amazing. Why don't I think it's Half-Life? Yeah, Half-Life 2's the ending that is totally, massively unsatisfying. What am I thinking of? Yeah, of course, because I've totally blanked out Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2's endings from my head, because they are shit.
Because the whole time you were mentioning using a portal in Half-Life 2, yeah. I was thinking...
Yeah, sorry about that.
The whole time you mentioned using a portal in Half-Life 2, I'm thinking, so portals make an appearance in Half-Life 2, but no.
No, the gravity guns...
but no, that is a fantastic ending to Portal 2, and for anyone who's ever wished to... excuse me, for anyone who's ever wished to fire Stephen Merchant into space, that's their opportunity to do it.
Honourable mention, just because it's the game I'm playing at the minute. It's not a weapon, it's as opposed to an ability in Dishonored. It's called Blink. It's short distance teleportation at level 1, say 6-8 feet. Level 2, there's only 2 levels on it. It's 20 feet, whatever. And it's so immensely satisfying, especially if you're going through it as a stealth player, which I've been doing. To aim your little portal where you're going to land directly behind a guard. As soon as you get there, choke him out, carry him in one movement, and then teleport back away somewhere out of view and ditch the body. It's just awesome. I can't think specifically off the top of my head of another game that has that kind of ability in it. I don't suppose it's unique, but it's just one of those little touches where it's so immensely useful and versatile. To just scan around and, people will be able to see if you teleport right past them, in front of them. They go, what was that? But if you teleport directly behind them, they've no idea. Chalk them out, carry them away, teleport back to where you were, out of range of other people's sight, dump the body, and then off you go onto rooftops. It's just brilliant.
It reminds me of like the first stealth game I ever played, and it preempted Metal Gear Solid, but not by much. That was Tenchu Stealth Assassin, which is similar to that. So you could hide up.
That was badass. That
game. Was a really good game.
Solid.
It was solid, but it was really cool. Very satisfying in the fact that you could kill people, you could hack people up. There's another game that was just totally in my head. Deus Ex, not necessarily the first Deus Ex, which is the best one, but Deus Ex,
the remake one,
Human Evolution, where you could upgrade like your body parts.
Yeah. The Xbox and PS3 one.
Yeah, and PC, obviously.
That's the one where you can throw fridges at people, right?
Yeah, or dumpsters and stuff like that. You could upgrade yourself, and so you have like non-lethal takedowns. If you upgrade your body, you can like grow spikes out of your arms, which when you do a lethal takedown will kill them like that. Or you can like twist the head off and stuff like that. Very cool, but yeah, stuff like that is smart. And then Thief, which is definitely part of Dishonored's, Dishonored's kind of pedigree. Just stuff like the bows. The bows felt it was very similar in Skyrim, where you draw back the bow and you get the nice sort of the satisfying
creak of the wood.
The creak of the wood, and then that kind of sound, and it hit the marks like that. Very nicely implemented technology, nicely implemented. It made it feel like you were, you actually utilising that weapon.
Things. That's a good point, because I like it when games not necessarily do realistic weapons, but they do things realistically. When things have got a weight to them, it's just you're clicking a mouse or a trigger on a joypad, but it feels like you're physically doing something.
Ironically, in Skyrim, I found that a lot of the knives, the maces and stuff like that didn't feel very good, because it didn't seem to have much weight behind it. You literally were just there flailing away. Whereas the bow did feel good.
I basically only used the bow. I had
me too.
A regular sword for up close and personal kind of thing, but I wasn't the type of player to...
The mace is more like bolt, is what I always had. That's just because people would look at you as you walk past them. They'd be like, "Do you smell something?" Like that.
No, nothing to see here. Carry on.
Anyway, I presume we need to wrap it up. Is there anything you'd like to add, Daniel?
Yes. From the first Fable game.
This game.
Have you only ever played 3 games, Don? COD, Fable,
and Dead Rising.
Tetris and Dead Rising.
Tetris. I've never got the Tetris craze. I understand it was amazing when it was new, but who still plays Tetris, honestly? Anyway.
People.
Yeah, me.
Shame on that.
In fact, I'm going to see if Tetris is on...
it's on the App Store, of course it is.
It must be, yeah. Anyway, continue, Dan.
I love the Fable games. Okay, sue me. Anyway, the end of the first Fable game.
Carry on, Dan. Sorry.
Thank you. At the end of the first Fable game, you defeat the bad guy. Spoiler alert: you defeat the bad guy, and
spoiler alert: the good guy wins.
You defeat the bad guy, and you get his sword, which is called the Sword of Eons. And you can either throw it into this vortex and destroy it and the bad guy forever, or you can wield the sword and you will have the most powerful weapon in the game. But
people tremble before you.
But people will fear you. Now this was great because in the first Fable, there were title vendors who sold you titles, because you didn't get to pick your own name. You began the game as Chicken Chaser, and you can buy a title. You could become known as Ranger or Assassin. I
forgot that mechanic from the game, actually.
One of the cheapest names, one of the cheapest titles you could buy was Arseface, and which was great. Wandering through a village and little kids coming up to you going, "Am I allowed to call you Arseface?" But it was great. It was great wielding the Sword of Eons. So if you've played the extended edition, the Lost Chapters edition, where you don't just have the sword, you take his mask at the end. You could have played good. You could have been a nice, good character the entire game, and put Jack of Blades' mask on at the end, and everyone suddenly fears you because you've turned into this evil overlord. And again, very satisfying hearing people running away going, "Oh no, it's Arseface!"
Is it okay if I call you Arseface? No!
There you go.
Killed him with the ultimate sword.
I left that name long ago.
Yeah. identity.
Before we wrap up, I would also just like, because Stu isn't here, I believe if Stu was here, his favourite weapon would be the nose bag from Barbie's Horse Adventures. Simply strap this nose bag to your chosen horse, and that horse will be yours.
No, I think Stu's favourite weapon would be in Civ, defeating people by economics.
Yeah.
And on that
crippling other countries by just having more money than them.
I think we can all agree on that.
Anyway.
Well, I think that's it. I've been Phil.
I've been Dan.
And I've been Nick.